All right, so I have but one chance to get this right. So apologies for the mic, but I am outside because my kids are already asleep and this is the only time we have for this. So a couple little quick things to hit on. First of all, happy Pride Month, everybody. For those of you who are still waiting for SSAH, I'm really sorry. A lot of people are still digging for answers on that, and it seems things are in process as usual. The OAP extension is here for those of you who are lucky to have it, or a budgetary plan. There's an extra 6 months being provided for us to spend that, seeing as there is nowhere safe to do that now. Of course, there is also now plans, or several different plans, for going back to school, and as a result, it appears like we may or may not have a cabinet shuffle coming up soon for that announcement. So let's everyone keep our fingers crossed, and maybe some fresh face will bring new results. There are some new centers, ABA centers, that are starting to think about reopening. So that's very exciting for some families. Congratulations to you guys. And to those of you who are not getting help and feel like they desperately need it, please don't suffer silently. Call the crisis numbers that are available to you. Obviously, there are still hospitals that are running their emergency room services. I can say firsthand they are still running, and there are people there to help you if you need it. Go get it. But what we're here to talk about is this whole Sick Kids letter and the several different plans that our Premier is looking at to get back to school. First of all, of course, the main thing is that we're looking at much smaller classes, and for typical kids, they're going to be looking at potentially half days with students like our kids, special needs kids, those on the autism spectrum or other developmental disorders, taking priority for full day. Now, while that is fantastic news that I'm sure a lot of us are very excited about, to think about them in smaller rooms with more support, that clearly is a wonderful thing, and having additional money poured in is absolutely necessary. One way or another, with the way it was chopped back, it had to happen. But what we're doing, unfortunately, is we are kind of creating a perfect storm environment. So our kids, obviously, it is not special treatment as far as I am concerned. This is stuff that helps our kids level the playing field. But it means that we are going to be looked at. Our entire community, the disability community as a whole, we will be under a microscope. So I do want to make sure that everyone does avail themselves of the services that our kids have a right to. They have a right to learn with their peers. So don't let go of that. But what I do want everyone to start doing is start planning, which is going to look totally different for every family, but start thinking about, in that scenario, what are the things that you want? Are you going back to work? Do you need additional daycare? Does your school provide that? And then, of course, what are your school resources like to begin with? How have they been supporting you in the past? If you're new to the school, setting up those virtual appointments, getting to know your principals and those other support workers your children may have, like your SLPs and the EAs, push yourself on them. Don't be ashamed to do that, because that's how stuff gets done. It also, unfortunately, creates an atmosphere where if we are putting all special kids in all special classes, which do work fantastic in some cases, but if we're doing this, we're essentially getting rid of the inclusion model, which was kind of making sure that all of our children ended up with in typical classrooms with a little bit of support, but otherwise doing the same thing. That does appear, at least on the surface from where I sit, to be going out the window right now, and I would suggest everybody again, be thinking forward about what they want for their kids and how they want that to look. And if they're okay with that, and if they're not okay with that, why, and start thinking about that stuff. And also there is the obvious thing, which is that unfortunately our kids might be further marginalized and bullied. They're going to be getting different treatment, and that will probably be noticed by other students. So something to look out for with your kids, making sure that their behavior doesn't change as they're going back to school. All of our kids' behavior is going to change going back to school, but being aware and asking for those kids who can communicate those things. Just making sure that with the preferential treatment doesn't come negative treatment from their peers. That is completely unacceptable. So again, Catholic boards may not serve the same function they once did. If you're in the Catholic board, then this is the time to think about what we want to see moving forward. And I guess coming into almost 5 minutes, folks, I don't really have anything much more to say other than to keep yourselves safe and keep your families safe. And if you can, try and stay home to stay safe. Really think about what you're prioritizing, what is an important trip out. Please do keep 6 to 12 feet away from others, and do mask up before you go out. And wash your darn hands, just like Mama told you. I hope everyone's well, and I can't wait to see everybody again, and see you soon.